one night thing over here. And I just put me around some Legos. Anyway, we're going to look at some YouTube videos. Yay. And there is a specific person somebody got me to watch. And it's wolfyChu. And somebody was on my phone. One of my friends were on my phone. So this is the first time I'm actually looking at their channel. So yeah. Let's do this one.
Meet the sweet and savory bacon smokehouse burger, the newest taste in the signature crafted recipes by McDonald's.
Hi everyone, this is wolfyChu, and I am probably one of the easiest people to scare that you will ever know. There are a lot of things that scare me, and some of those things are pretty weird, so I thought maybe I could talk about that in today's video. There's one fear that I've had ever since I was younger that might be kind of weird, but I think a lot of people might understand too. I hope. I love Nintendo, but there's one series from them that I have never been able to play a game from. And the reason for that is because of the main character of the series, Donkey Kong. It's mostly just the faces he makes that freak me out. Like, this is the face he makes when someone hits him in Smash Bros. Look at that! This is supposed to be a family-friendly game. Since my boyfriend and our friends know how much I hate him, whenever we play Nintendo games, they always choose him so that I have to face off against him. So whenever we're playing games like Mario Kart or Smash Bros, it's always me surrounded by a bunch of Donkey Kongs. Not to mention that old cartoon series he used to have kind of scarred me for life. Other people can relate too, right? Okay, maybe it's just me. I've also never been able to handle scary movies. I remember one time we were watching a scary movie in class, and I was sitting at the back with my friend. I kept telling people that I didn't even find the movie scary at all, that nothing in it even looked real, but on the inside I was dying. It got to this one scene in the movie where the main character was alone in the dark, and everything went really quiet, and you could just tell that a jump scare was about to happen. So I tried to be prepared for it so I wouldn't even react. But when it came, it still managed to catch me off guard and freaked me out enough to make me scream and jump in my seat. And when I did that, I accidentally kicked my friend. Everyone else in the class turned to look at me while I sat there, shaking and almost crying, still trying to tell them that the movie wasn't scary to me at all. That's not the only time where I've ended up terrified because I couldn't admit that I hated scary things. I remember the first time I went to Disneyland when I was little. My family and I went on the Haunted Mansion ride, and it scarred me for years. I got over this fear eventually, though. I went on the Haunted Mansion ride again last year, and I realized that it really isn't scary at all. Apart from the part in the elevator, that's kind of freaky. The ride did also keep breaking down the first time we went on it too, which was kind of annoying. But it seems that every time I go to a theme park, I find a new thing to be afraid of. Last year, I went on holiday to America with my boyfriend Jordan and his family. On one of the days we were there, we went to Universal Studios in Orlando. And can I first just say that Harry Potter World is absolutely amazing? I fangirled for literally the entire time we were there. It was the best part of the whole trip by far. I have so much I want to talk about with that. Maybe I'll save it for another video one day. Anyway, after a super fun day of Harry Potter, we decided to go on one last ride on the way out. A dropper ride. I had never been on one of these rides before, but they are just the scariest looking things. The thought of being slowly pulled up into the air only to be pushed back down to the ground at full speed sounded terrifying. I really didn't want to do it, but I felt like I had to at least try it before deciding that I couldn't do it. And maybe it would be the same thing as the Haunted Mansion ride, and it wouldn't be so scary after all. So I agreed to do it, and we all got in line for the ride. My nerves started to kick in extremely quickly. The entire ride looked kind of dodgy. It had this kind of industrial theme that made it look like everything could just fall apart at any second. Jordan could tell that I was nervous, so he was trying to tell me that it was okay. He'd been on lots of dropper rides before, and they're really not scary. But then his sister told me that this ride was a lot faster than any other dropper ride they'd been on before, and my nervousness doubled. Once we got to the end of the line, our group had to be separated into different sides. I was with Jordan while everyone else was on the other side. As soon as it was just us two, I couldn't hold it in anymore, and I just started to cry. Jordan managed to calm me down, and we got on the ride together. I tried to relax and just get it over with. I learned to do this thing where when I'm doing something like watching a scary movie, I force myself to daydream, so I end up missing pretty much the entire movie because I'm just sitting there in my own little world. So I tried to do that and not think about the ride at all, until suddenly the guy working there came out and said, "Good luck, you're gonna need it." And I know that this is what they're told to say, but it made me start to panic 100 times more. Now, I thought that it was gonna be a slow and anxious ride up to the top, and then a drop back down to the bottom. But then suddenly our seats just zoomed super fast up into the air. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I saw my life flash in front of my eyes as the ride reached the highest point and slowed down for a second. Jordan tried to tell me that the fastest part of it was over, and I hoped it was, but nope. The coming back down part just felt so much worse. Also, since Jordan was pretty much just trying to comfort me throughout the whole ride, he ended up not paying any attention to the ride himself. When we finally got off the ride, everybody else was happy and talking about how crazy and fun it was, while I could barely even stand up by myself from the shock. I was in hysterics. I remember since I was crying into Jordan's chest, I left him with a big wet patch on his shirt too. The whole thing was just really embarrassing, and I am never going to go on another dropper ride again. And those are my stories. I have a lot more strange fears to talk about, so let me know if you'd like to hear them. I also have a Patreon where I post my works in progress and heaps of other cool rewards. If you'd like to check that out, the link will be in the description down below. Thank you for watching. Bye!
Let's do that one. And after this,
Made
I'm
with
gonna watch one
100%
more
fresh
and
beef,
then
the new
I'll
fresh
end
beef
the
quarter
video.
pounder.
Hi everyone, it's wolfyChu!
And Sweetotunes.
And a lot of you guys have been asking us to tell the story about how we first met.
It's very cheesy, but here we go.
It all started almost 5 years ago. I found this boy who called himself Jordan Sweeto one day through one of the videos on his YouTube channel. I thought that he seemed like a really cute and funny person, so I followed him on there and on his social media.
She actually just followed him because she felt sorry for him, because he was so ugly and so desperate.
As if!
What? It's true.
Gee, no, it's not.
If you're gonna tell the story, you have to tell it the truth.
I am
The truth.
I am telling the truth.
We both kind of talked on and off online for a long time, and I remember every time she would reply to my tweets, I would get kind of happy.
It's weird to think at one point I even made a fan art for him. He was pretty much my
What the
senpai.
little fangirl.
Excuse me.
Did you call me senpai?
I always wanted to be better friends and get to know him more, but this didn't happen until a whole 3 years later, when he randomly messaged me on Twitter one day. Then he asked if he could add me on Skype, and we started talking on there every day for hours at a time.
Literally like 10 hours a day.
I remember the first time we got into a Skype call, and I was so shy to talk, and especially to get on camera. But then when we did get into a video call, this one ended up being more shy than me at first.
I thought that I was gonna be the confident one in the first camera call, but yeah, I wasn't. I was like hiding my face because I didn't want her to see it in case she thought it was ugly. I don't know.
I knew your face already.
Yeah, I know, but you never saw it like in Skype, so I don't know.
How's it different from seeing it in video?
It's not, but it still is different somehow. I don't know.
I don't know.
I remember that in the first cam call that we ever did, she just randomly signed off in the middle of our conversation. I was like, what? Where did you go? Does she hate me? But it turns out that her phone just died, so
Oh, this is
I
funny.
was worrying for nothing.
I probably didn't help. I was just in the chat being like, lol, sorry, my phone died.
Lol.
I'm sorry, lol. It was crazy how many things we had in common. Like our love for Nintendo, Owl City, we both loved drawing.
And animals.
I thought you were gonna say anime.
And anime, too.
We're both weeps. After a short time of talking, I realized that I was beginning to fall for him.
Why are you just screaming for no apparent
He
reason?
licked me!
After a couple of weeks of talking on Skype, I kind of felt that way too. I felt like, even though we hadn't met before, that there was something special about her, and I wanted to... I don't know, I just... Why are you smiling at me? I just wanted to find out more about her, and back then it was just about being friends, but I just wanted to be her best friend. What? Why are you giving me goo-goo eyes?
I can smell your drool.
What? What do you mean?
You licked my face and I can smell it. Yeah, I didn't know how or if I'd ever be able to tell him about how I felt. And another problem was that he was living in Australia while I was all the way over in Europe.
Just a tiny problem.
We were literally on opposite sides of the world.
Even though it was really difficult being so far apart, it actually kind of worked out for our sleeping schedule because she would have a regular one and I would stay up till 7 a.m. every single night or morning, I guess.
Yeah, even if we'd spent like the whole day in call, sometimes it just didn't feel enough. So there were many nights where like after we'd say goodnight, I would stay up late waiting for him to wake up so we could talk again that day.
There were also nights where I would say goodnight and go to sleep, but I wouldn't go to sleep. I would be thinking about her, so... And then I would sign back on the Skype and be like, hi, I'm still awake.
That made me happy. Then by this point we decided that we had to meet each other, so I booked tickets to come to Australia for September that year.
After me trying to convince her for a couple weeks.
He said that if I didn't buy my ticket, he would. I would never forget the moment I saw him for the first time. He ran to me and hugged me super tightly.
I probably looked like the biggest dork to people just standing by and watching.
It was cute though. It felt so surreal to be with him like that after only ever being able to see him on my computer screen. I thought that we were going to be really shy around each other, at least for the first little bit, but we got really comfortable really fast. He held my hand on the way back to his car and he kept hugging me every time we stopped at a red light. The time that I was in Australia with him was honestly the happiest time of my life.
I didn't think I could meet anybody who would make me feel the same way that she made me feel.
We had so much fun together and made so many special memories. He took me to so many different places and introduced me to all of his family and his friends.
And we played Pokemon Go every single day.
It was true. We went out for drives at night and we'd be out till like 5 a.m. catching Pokemon. It was great.
I remember that first day that we met when I drove her home and we hung out for the night. I realized then and there that I couldn't be without her anymore. I had known for a long time speaking with her over Skype that I thought she was the girl for me, but just seeing her in person that night just made it clear to me that she was the one. What?
You can cut that out, right?
Nope, we're leaving that in.
No!
We're really sorry. This video is very cheesy, but everybody was requesting it, so this is your own fault.
It was the same for me. I also knew on the night that we first met that he was the one for me. And then exactly 10 days after we met, he asked me to be his girlfriend.
You remember exactly how many days it took me to ask you? And it was really sad when the time came that she had to go back home because she booked a return ticket.
It was okay though, because as soon as I got home, I immediately started making plans to return to Australia, this time permanently. So after just 3 weeks of being apart, I was back here.
Those 3 weeks were really hard though. I remember that. I remember staring at the screen on Skype call and just feeling really sad that you weren't here.
It was really hard to be apart.
We're both really clingy.
True.
And that's the story. We've been together here ever since.
And I've never been happier. Thank you guys so much for watching.
We also did a video over on my channel talking about how much of a clumsy anime girl Wolfie is in real life.
So if you want to go check that out, the link will be in the description down below. I also have a Patreon where I share my works in progress and lots of other cool rewards, so you should go check that out if you want. Thank you again for watching. Bye!
Lost one.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Let's get the show on the road. I'm pregnant. We can't tell anybody about the baby, okay?
I just told Bill.
I told many people.
Rated PG-13.
Hi everyone, this is wolfyChu, and a lot of people have asked me to make a Draw My Life, so today I'm gonna do that. It all started in a place called Surrey in the UK, the place where Harry Potter grew up. I was an Irish girl who was born and lived in the UK for the first 6 years of my life with my parents and my 2 older brothers. I was a really quiet kid who loved animals and to draw. I remember when I wanted to draw but couldn't find any paper, I'd look around the house for other things to draw on, like boxes, the wall, my mom's clothes. I remember liking the street that we lived on because my best friend lived just a few houses away, so we could see each other almost every day. There was also a park at the end of the street too, which I loved. But then one day my parents said that we were going to be moving away from there and going to Spain. I didn't understand what it meant to be moving to another country, but I knew that Spain had swimming pools, so I didn't really think about anything else. When we got there though, I remember I started to get scared. I was going to have to start at a new school all by myself, and I thought that I was going to be the only person there who spoke English. I also didn't realize how far away from home we were either. I remember I kept expecting to see my best friend coming through the door at any moment, just like she used to. I got used to living in Spain pretty quickly though. The street we lived on was actually full of stray cats, which I thought was great. I remember I gave a name to every single one of them. We even got to keep some of them as pets too. Learning Spanish turned out to be easy for me too, since I was still really young. I really enjoyed my time in primary school. I had great friends and had fun every day. But once I started high school, things started to change a lot. My 2 best friends started hanging out with this other girl, and I was seeing them less and less, until we weren't really friends anymore. I didn't have any other friends in school, and since we were a few months into the first year already, everyone already had their own little friendship groups, and I felt like I couldn't get into any of them. So I ended up just staying by myself, which really sucked. Things stayed like this for almost 2 years, until I ended up sitting next to 2 of my old primary school friends in class, and we started to become friends again. I started talking to one other girl too, and the 3 of them ended up becoming really good friends to me. Suddenly school wasn't so bad anymore. Until the time came where everyone had to decide what career path they wanted to take. Everybody I knew seemed to have it all figured out. They knew what they wanted to be and exactly what they needed to do to get there. I had no idea what I wanted to be. The only thing I'd ever taken a real interest in was art. Drawing was my favorite thing to do, but I'd been led to believe that I could never make a career out of it. That if I did art at uni, I'd just end up finishing school and never be able to find any kind of work. So I felt like I had to choose something else, but I just didn't know what. I thought about so many different kinds of jobs, but could never find an answer. My friends all moved away for university while I stayed at home. Everyone was moving on with their lives while I was just being left behind all by myself. I felt like there had to be something wrong with me for not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. I felt completely lost. I still wanted to draw though. I started drawing pictures for people on the internet who I was either friends with or a fan of, and I was really surprised at the reactions I'd get. People really liked my drawings. I wanted to get more into it, so I got a small drawing tablet and tried out drawing digitally. It felt really different at first, but it was also a lot of fun, and I just wanted to draw more and more. My life really started to change in 2016, when I started talking to this Australian boy who I'd known online for a few years. His name is Jordan, and we started talking to each other on Skype every single day for hours at a time. He was really different from anyone else I'd ever known. He liked pretty much all of the same things I did, and he was just always so fun to talk to and always made me really happy. I realized that I was falling in love with him, and we knew that we had to meet each other in person. I remember I wanted to tell him how I felt about him, but I was just way too shy and I couldn't get the words to come out of my mouth. So I told him in Spanish instead, because I knew that he didn't understand any Spanish. He was trying to figure out what I was saying to him with Google Translate, but it kept telling him the wrong thing, so he was just getting really confused. Just a few months later, I traveled out to Australia to meet Jordan in person for the first time. The time that we spent together was amazing. I'd never been happier in my entire life. And just a few days after me being there, Jordan asked me to be his girlfriend. I knew for sure after being together in person that he was the one for me, and I decided that I wanted to move out to Australia permanently so that we could be together. Moving to another country might be a big decision to make, especially if it's on the other side of the world. But I had no doubts. Everything just felt right. Jordan and I had both loved art since a young age, and when he saw my art, he said that I could probably make a career out of it, even though everybody else had told me that I could never make that happen. Jordan had just discovered the animation community on YouTube, and started to encourage me to try out animating and create my own YouTube channel. The only time I'd ever tried out animating was on PictoChat on my Nintendo DS, if you can even count that. I was really keen to try animating properly though, and Jordan wanted to get back into animating too. So I created my channel and we started creating animations together. I've only been on YouTube for a year and a half, but my channel has grown so much since then, and I just feel so lucky and happy to be where I am today. It's really all thanks to you guys that I'm able to do what I love every single day, and I'm really so grateful for that. Thank you all so much for all of your support. It really means so much to me. And that's my life story so far. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I have a Patreon where I post my works in progress, storytime bloopers, and heaps of... Hi everyone, it's wolfyChu!
And Sweeto Tunes.
Well, bye guys. I just want to check out the channel. Bye. And you know who you are who introduced me to that. They have their own channel.